In 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 13, Paul says to the believers, "When ye received the word of God, which ye heard of us, ye received it not as the word of men, but as it is in truth the word of God, which effectually worketh also in you that believe." They heard Paul's words and realized it wasn't just Paul talking to them. It was God himself. But how did they know this? They knew it because it effectually worked in them. That is how Christians feel about the whole Bible. People ask us today how we know the Bible is the Word of God. How can we be sure? We shouldn't just accept it blindly, right? We want proof. Does that sound fair? God must prove himself to us. How? Maybe a personal miracle. I should remind you that God is very great and more majestic than any king has ever been in history. It is inappropriate to speak about him this way. And for the record, saying God must do something presupposes that God somehow owes us something or needs us in some way. It presupposes we are doing him a favor by believing on him. If he wants us, he has to perform for us. It also presupposes that we don't really need him, that if he doesn't perform according to our demands, we can just walk away, never the worse. The reality is that God does not need us and will not supply a personal miracle for you to believe in him. And if you don't think you need him, he will leave you alone. God is a gentleman. He will not interrupt your busy schedule or your video game while you ignore him. If you have all the answers you need and are satisfied with the life he gave you and have no desire to know him, he will note the insolence but won't react against you, at least not right away. God is patient and kind, but he owes you nothing. But fair enough. We don't want to just accept the Bible blindly. There should be objective reasons to believe it is the Word of God. Let me point out several reasons the Bible is believable and recommends itself to every inquiring mind. These may not satisfy a mathematical mentality, but they have persuaded millions of reasonable people. First, notice the Bible is not a supernatural book. The remarkable creation narrative may have been told to Adam and Eve by God, of course, but almost everything after creation that is found in the Bible was recorded and passed down by the people involved. When God spoke to Abram, and Abram believed him, he and his children received special commands and promises. Every time a new prophet came along, Moses, David, Isaiah, then Jesus and his apostles, each generation of Abraham's seed put them to the test, seeing if their words came to pass. And if they did, they accepted them as words of God. They collected all these scriptures together and formed our Bible. This book did not drop out of heaven. It doesn't require you to suspend your skepticism. It recommends itself by its undeniable antiquity, by transparency of transmission, by externally confirmed information contained in it, and by the lives of its authors, many of whom sacrificed their own lives to bring it to you. Second, some of the prophecies that persuaded the ancients are still available for investigation to this day. The empires of Daniel's prophecies, the coming of the Messiah at the appointed time, the destruction of Jerusalem within the generation of the apostles, the return of the Israelites to their own land. These are just a few of the impressive prophecies that recommend the Bible as the Word of God. They came to pass, and you can prove it. Superficially, you may dismiss these prophecies, but if you investigate seriously, these proofs cannot be ignored. Another confirmation of the Bible is the superiority of the Bible's point of view. You might say the Bible rings true. In the Bible, God is transcendent, not a part of nature. Sure enough, that makes sense. God is reasonable and expects to be understood. Again, makes sense. God is righteous and demanding. Humans are made in God's image and are not merely another part of nature. Boy, don't we know it. The morality of the Bible is superior to all other value systems, not just the civil, moral law of Moses, which many ancient civilizations had, but a deeper morality embedded in the very creation, the foundation of marriage and procreation, the inspiring and counterintuitive morality in the Sermon on the Mount, and the expectation of rational moral judgment only after this life is over, creating the remarkable duality of personal freedom and accountability. We may never have discovered this value system without the Bible, but once expounded, it matches our own intuition perfectly. It fits our consciences, our deepest moral impulses, our inexpressible expectations, our unfathomed hopes. Finally, the Bible recommends itself as the Word of God to us, as Paul says, by effectually working in us that believe. The Bible works. The Bible forms character, establishes responsibility, and even offers real solutions to our own failure and guilt through what Jesus did for us on the cross. The Bible builds society, creates orderly government, forms happy and stable marriages, and flourishing, disciplined children. The Bible increases literacy, culture, artistic creativity, and scientific inquiry, and creates unimaginable wealth wherever it is followed, even indirectly. You see, the Thessalonians believed, and it worked in them. If you need more reasons to believe than that, you may just not want to believe. The Bible has worked for me, and it will work for you. Read it and see for yourself.